Coming to you from the Malace TV studios in Troy, Michigan, this is the Malace Cast.
All right, welcome back to the Malace Cast, the official podcast of Malace HR. I'm LJ.
And I'm Sarah.
And today we have got a ton to talk to you about, but before we do, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel, as well as our pages on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Every time you like and subscribe, a candidate gets hired. Wow.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, is that nice?
Push that button or whatever it is the kids these days say.
You know, our podcast and our hiring process are completely intertwined. So
obviously.
So Sarah, how you doing today? What are we talking about today?
I'm excellent. You know, we kind of, since we moved into this new office, which we've beat to death that we've done that. We got a lot of different kind of folks. Also beat that to death.
Yes.
So we wanted to actually sit down today and talk about the different generations in the workforce.
Perfect.
And what everybody brings to the table, how they interact with each other, what their experience is working in an office together again.
Right.
So we actually brought some friends with us.
How you doing, guys? We have Caitlin Gibson. She's our Zoomer or Gen Z, and then we've got Mike. He's our resident baby boomer, and then myself and Sarah are millennials. So we're gonna have a little bit of a round table. So very excited. Welcome, guys. Happy to have you joining us here.
So excited for this.
So I think today we're gonna start talking about communication styles and communication and how people. You're the number one way that you like to communicate with others, as well as how you communicate with different people of different ages.
Yeah,
am I correct?
I feel like there's such a breakdown from when you came into the workforce, which I would have followed you.
Right.
We didn't have texting.
No.
We didn't have email even for a while.
We had pagers.
Yeah, we did have pagers.
I literally had a pager that big on my thing, and it would go off.
We did have pagers, yeah.
What's a pager?
I rest my case.
So, it was a beep and come do the thing, and now
you can ignore it. Where a cell phone, you can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
So we had a little bit different experience, I feel. And then as, I kind of grew into the workforce, and of course you're still around, what's so different from you that you've had a hard time adapting to as you move through the workforce?
Initially, it was social media until I really became fluent with it. I'm much more fluent with it now. I think that because social media is really the wave of the future.
Right.
Everything going electronic and that kind of thing. Before, honestly, when I started right out of college, we were still using paper, and there was nothing electronic whatsoever. And the internet at that point hadn't even come about. So it's the workforce in general has changed dramatically with the evolution of the internet. And really, we can't live without the internet now.
Right.
So,
and Caitlin's never known anything without the internet.
Not really.
Yeah.
So we're talking about pagers and paper, and she's like,
What's
I don't know
paper?
This is a pencil.
So what do you think that you guys bring to the table to keep innovating us,
Yeah. Well, I feel like with my generation, especially people younger than me, they are babies and toddlers, and they're already using phones and tablets and everything.
Yeah.
So I think that allows my generation to be super fast and teaching others how to be savvy with technology and picking up on things quicker. And I think at least for me, not only have I picked up on technology fast, but I feel like I just pick up everything fast now.
Yeah.
Just because I entered the world in a time where things are moving fast, with technology and advancement, evolution and whatnot. So
yeah, no, and I think you're totally spot on with that, because I even I've got family members with young kids, and a lot of the parents they put an iPad in front of the kid, and it's not all the time, obviously, but for little breaks and for their own personal sanity, they do that. But you're spot on, and I think if you look at video games and technology as a whole, I think the younger generation, their the hand-eye coordination and reflexes is actually pretty incredible. And I know the military uses a lot of younger people to fly drones remotely, because it's very similar to a Call of Duty or a video game or something like that.
But when I was in school, we had a blackboard. We literally had chalk. We had to shake the erasers. And now even my own kids are taught by iPads. They're issued an iPad at the beginning of the school year, like you said, and that's how they're instructed. All their lesson plans. They literally, during COVID specifically, they everything was done on the iPad on top. All the information was put on the iPad.
Right. Well, and I think what's cool for as millennials, now millennials millennials have always been kind of like the bridge generation, you know, like when I was born, we barely had any technology. And so I got to see, and same thing with Sarah, you know, you got to see the whole evolution.
That was like a crazy experience.
Oh, God.
You're like, what's happening?
It was crazy, but it was like there was no consistency. There was like, you know, I mean, the first like 7 phones I had were totally different brands, totally, some slid up, some flipped, some did this and the other thing. There was absolutely no consistency, and everything was kind of in like that weird, like infancy, awkward phase of technology. Like they needed to work out the kinks for at least another 10 years until it became mainstream like it is today. But you know, seeing everything from the beginning of the internet to now, you know, like we said, the internet is literally everywhere. It's kind of a interesting experience.
My very first cell phone, I literally was a bag phone in 1987. I swear to God, and it weighed like about 35 pounds. It was over the shoulder. It had an antenna with a magnetic mount. I'm not kidding. And the handset was as big as my head. It was like this, and it had the keypad on top of it.
Well, did you have to like plug the bag in?
You literally had to plug it into your lighter. You had to take the magnetic mount antenna and put it on your roof. That's if you got a decent signal. Back then it was like cellular one. Verizon wasn't around at that point.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. And what was your first phone? Was it an iPhone?
You know what? It wasn't. I feel like, because I'm a 2000 baby.
Okay.
So, you know, I feel like I have a little bit of millennial in with me. Mixed
Maybe just
with
a touch.
Just a touch. My first phone it slid up and it had a little buttons.
Oh, like a sidekick.
I'm not just an iPhone baby.
Well, good for you. Good for you.
She's not an iPhone
I'm
snob.
proud of it, okay?
Sarah, how about you? What have you seen? And maybe not just cell phones, but I mean, because we're in the same boat, you know, where you're going to school compared to where you're in school, where you're at now. I mean, what do you think the biggest change for you has been? You know?
Well, I mean, honestly, to quantify it, I am from the days of you got the AOL disc in the mail and you plugged it in, and that's the hours that you got to use on the internet, and you had the chat. And there was a thing on, I don't know, TikTok or Instagram or whatever the other day where people your age don't even know the sound of the dial-up internet. Like a bunch of people are like, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, that's what I grew up on. I did not know the dial-up sound, but you just never had to experience it. And I think we run into that with candidates a lot too. I love what you said about learning quick, because it's the absolute truth. When you come back or when you come to something, a new job or whatever, you guys are learning a lot faster than what we've experienced before. Yeah. I think that also comes from a place of the instant gratification that comes from the internet. You post a picture, you get a like in it. I mean, there's studies that have been done. It releases endorphins in your body, like you're being hugged or like you're being kissed or like you're in love. And so it's a fast world that we're working in, and we're seeing it with candidates where they don't want to sit on the phone with you or answer a bunch of emails. They want you to text them, where do I have to be and when, so that they can plug that into their GPS or their Waze, and they can go where they need to go. So, I mean, we've adapted to it, I feel, very well as a company. Because we have to. There's no choice. We can't sit and do paper applications anymore, and we can't wait for things to happen. Everything now is instant gratification as much as possible. And I'm sure, you know, when you're talking to people, that's especially younger people coming into the workforce, that's what they're looking for is, just give me the easy, you know?
Yeah, well, it's convenient. It's all about convenience, you know, and technology, like, you know, it's a good and bad thing. A lot of, you know, different things come with technology. It's not all good, but one thing is for sure, it's convenient and it's fast. And, you know, everybody wants things to be done fast today.
Yes.
Right. Well, and I mean, and if you look at the biggest companies in today's market, I mean, Amazon doesn't actually make anything. It just is a service. It's convenient. Uber, you know, I mean, you've got a lot of these different companies and tech companies. They don't even make anything. They just make things, you know, quicker, faster, more convenient for people. And I think it kind of shows you that convenience factor, that's an extremely valuable thing to be able to sell. And like you said, with, you know, trying to make sure that we have to adapt, you know, I think today, you know, you're almost in a race to adapt quicker than other companies. Like, hey, like, you know, oh, they're using this database. Well, we've got this, and the other thing, you know, and trying to get ahead of our competition by advancing quicker. And I think that's part of a lot of companies, including our strategies. You know?
How does that feel for somebody in your position where you went from a, you know, Polaroid picture you have to shake to now everything is, but you know, it wasn't as as fast as it is now.
I think it depends on the individual. I tend to adapt very quickly. This is a personal thing.
Sure.
But there are many people who are still not comfortable with the internet. I mean, my mother is 80 years old. I kid you not. She just went on Facebook. Now, granted, Facebook is antiquated maybe by today, without Instagram. But I'm like, why is my mother on Facebook? But I mean, it's taken her longer to adapt to any kind of social media because of her skill set and her age.
Yeah.
I think it's really up to the individual.
Right.
Speaking personally, I didn't have a problem with it. There's a bit of a learning curve like anything else, though.
Yeah.
I always think it's impressive, though. Impressive though that you have someone in their 80s or their 70s can even get on Facebook.
It's truly amazing.
I mean, and you think about what they've seen, and really, I mean, the workplace and life in general was relatively consistent as from a communication and internet. There was no internet, there was no social media, that kind of stuff. It was writing letters, making phone calls. So it was pretty consistent for a while there, and then for it to all just kind of have like a complete 180 in the last 30 years. I mean,
absolutely.
for somebody that was in their 40s, in the beginning of 1990, they're definitely like a little bit maybe in over their heads.
Well, it's funny that you say that. My dad is 70, just turned 70, and he posts on Facebook like I did when I first got a Facebook. Like every thought that came to my mind.
Excited about it.
It's going on Facebook.
Sarah King is happy.
Yeah, that's my dad, man. He's like 60 posts a day. I'm like, Dad, I gotta mute you, and he's like, What's wrong?
Because your cue's like,
yes, exactly.
No, you need to get him a Twitter. That's the
Twitter's good for that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he would. We're not going to spend. There's too much to teach there.
I want to get the parents off social media.
Yes. Bless his heart.
Love them dearly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, my dad was totally against Facebook until I got him one, and now the guy's on it nonstop. So I think it doesn't matter how old you are, you can
warm up to it.
Yeah, you can warm up and you can get hooked on these.
Oh,
things,
yeah.
It goes back. We said psychologically, people want that instant gratification. I mean, we all do. If you post something, you want to see how many likes you get. I'm like that. If I
Who
post
agrees
something,
with me?
I go back and I go, oh, he agreed. He didn't agree. How many likes did I get? It's
Right.
instant. You go back and you want to verify what you received. Yeah.
There's a lot of science behind that. For
Absolutely,
sure.
there is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And how do you think, so with that in mind, and in the workplace that almost had instant gratification, I think there's a little bit of a difference when you're dealing with someone that's a baby boomer versus a Gen Z. What in your guys' opinion do you think would be a way for companies to adapt to really satisfy that need for that instant gratification, but also, keep in line or keep on the same page with all their existing generations that are already working for them? Do you guys have any ideas as far as that goes?
I think companies just need to adapt, period, to work different work styles. And we're post-COVID now. We talked about that a little bit ago.
Right.
It's a different work style. I think being able to adjust to that and look at who your employee base is and really not necessarily what their needs are, but you kind of, with a work-life balance, you have to look at that now. It's a different, we're in a different work environment post-COVID. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, well, and it's a good transition to our next topic. We were going to be talking about what an ideal work environment looks like for different generations. My dad's a Gen Xer, and his ideal work environment is in an office from 8 to 5, and you know what? That's how a lot of people feel as well. Other people that are Gen Z or younger or even millennials, they want to be working. They want that flexible. Work. What's the word? Like
life balance.
Life balance. Yeah. Excuse me. So it's kind of different for each one. I mean, Mike, in your opinion, what was your ideal work environment?
I enjoy getting up, and I think I've told you this candidly before. I like getting up in the morning and having a purpose and getting into work. That's how the type of work style I enjoy. Now we're beginning to go into more of a hybrid type situation. Would I be okay with perhaps maybe a day once in a while working at home? Perhaps.
Right.
But I like getting in. I like the camaraderie. I like coming. I love my coworkers.
Yeah.
I enjoy coming to work every day. So for me personally, I love coming in. I'm an early bird. I'm in here, and I love being in the office around everybody. Being at home constantly. I worked from home a few years ago, and I was climbing the walls, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Because I'm a social beast. And I like to be around people.
Me too.
So, the
It's
interaction.
rough.
There's something about the interaction with other
Absolutely.
people. I think that's
Makes
part
a big
of it.
difference.
So, from my perspective, I enjoy coming in.
Yeah, and Caitlin, you're a people person,
yeah.
so I gotta imagine that you like being in the office as well.
Yes.
You know?
Oh, I just love it.
Yeah.
I agree with Mike. I'm a big, I like structure and routine, and I love getting up every day and coming to work, and that's my routine. And it's not like tedious. It's not like I'm coming in every day and doing the same thing and it's a drag. That's not how I look at it. Every day is different, especially in the, our sort of environment and what we do. We work with a lot of different people, but it's also like the interaction that we have with our coworkers and our colleagues and everybody. I love seeing everybody everybody. And, I love being here.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think those culture committees and things that we try to do to engage the employees, I think that's important.
Culture's so big.
I think we have a really dynamic work environment. It's a great place to work. We have a lot of people here who bring a lot to the table from various backgrounds, and I think that's what is our key to success here. And the work environment's phenomenal. I mean, you can't. It is the far and honestly the best place I've ever worked in my entire career. It's a great place to be.
It's when you look into some of these studies that we do before we talk about this stuff. One of the things that's kind of polarizing is, let me rephrase. When you look at the best places to work as voted on by people who work there, you're looking at, places that offer flex time and places who, have hybrid schedules and things like that. That works for some work environments. It doesn't work for others. We all get that. But I think one of the funny things that I found as I've grown up in the workforce is, when I first started, I was working with your folks and it was dress pants and a nice top every single day.
That's right.
And I worked in a factory, for goodness sakes. It was disgusting and I still had to wear that.
Yeah.
And now we go visit those places and that's not the case. They're in jeans and a polo and you know who the boss is, but it's not necessarily, you don't have to be dressed to the nines to be a supervisor in a manufacturing facility. And I think we see that in the office too. People are typically, if what you're comfortable in is khakis and a polo, then that's what you do. And that's how you do your best work. Right. If what you're comfortable in, with some degree of, not showing off too much or being inappropriate, right? Decorum. If what you're comfortable in is jeans and a sweater, then by all means, jeans and a sweater. But that was not a thing, 20 years ago.
You wear a shirt and tie. I used to, when I go on sales calls, if I didn't wear a suit, they'd be looking at you.
Yeah.
Now you go in a suit, you're overdressed.
Yeah.
They're like, I literally had one guy say, "Why are you wearing a shirt and tie? Open up the tie." He literally said, "Open up the tie." So
right. And I totally have seen that as well. Where now you go into a plant, and you're wearing a suit and tie, and they're just you have people looking at them like, "Who's this guy? Who does he think he is?"
High status.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's about how you do your best work.
Absolutely.
It doesn't hurt anybody.
Performance is what matters.
Yep,
right.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah, and kind of to break down, and maybe I should have done this a little earlier, but just to kind of break down, and I think you maybe have some. Did you have the numbers for our office, or do we not have that? For generations?
Nope, it's on my phone.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll at least go over the generations that we have. This is based on the U.S. Census Bureau. The current generation percentage in the workplace. We have 2% of the people are silent gen before 1946. The baby boomers, which are 1946 to 1964, make up 25% of the workforce. Gen X, which is 1965 to 1980, makes up 33%. Millennials, which is 1981 to 1996, makes up 35%. And Gen Z, which is 1987 to 2012, makes up 5%. And obviously, each and every year, those are going to increase or decrease.
Right.
The Gen Z is going to continue, and silent gen's probably going to be gone pretty soon. And did you got those numbers for? So how is our office made up?
So I asked our wonderful HR department to provide us with kind of our generational breakdown. And so for baby boomers, we have one person who works here. About 30% of us are Gen X, and 53% of us are millennials. I was actually kind of surprised to see that.
Yeah.
And about 15% of us are Gen Z, like Caitlin. So it was a little bit different of a breakdown than what I expected, but that was the census here. So I didn't expect as many Gen Xers, or wait, is it Gen X? Yeah, Gen Xers in there. Because we talked about this, like they tend to be more like gruff and cocky, and we don't have a whole lot of people here like that. So, and that's stereotyping for sure.
I'll turn my pager off. Hold on a second.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can go over the stereotypes if you like, because that seems like it's a good transition. So we'll just do a couple stereotypes here of the baby boomers. Mike,
I resemble that remark.
they are out of touch. Disinterested in learning new things. That's a stereotype.
Really?
Gen X, their stereotypes are they are cynical and poor team members. Wow.
Ouch.
This is
These are millennial.
Oh, okay. So they put them all together. Okay. So well, that's nice. So then we get 5. We get 5 stereotypes. The millennials are cynical, poor team members, too confident, entitled, and lazy.
What about positive stereotypes?
No, I don't think there are any.
Like anybody else.
And Gen Zs, their stereotypes are more cynical and no loyalty. Now, obviously, those are the stereotypes. They all have their strengths. You know, they talk about baby boomers being some of the hardest workers and the people that have got their systems and processes in place there. They've really got themselves well put together. The Gen X, you know, they are committed to their families and juggling work and their family and are committed to their careers, you know. Millennials, you know, they're highly adaptive. We're able to use different skill sets that whether it's technology or social media to influence and help the workplace. And then Gen Z, their biggest positive or whatever, biggest strength, and you already touched on it, they're the most technologically like advanced generation out there. And I know firsthand experience. We've between, you know, turning documents and things and putting them online, putting spreadsheets, that kind of stuff online. I feel like everybody that's done that has been part of Gen Z and made sure that they're digitizing our business.
For sure.
So,
Absolutely.
For all the stereotypes, there are definitely some pros and some strengths for each one of those. So yeah, obviously, guys, with the stereotypes, there's obviously plenty of strengths that each generation brings to the table. And you know, I guess the other point I want to touch on is work-life balance. And what does that mean to you? So, Mike, we'll start with you. When you work-life balance, what is that?
I've always been growing up as a kid, as a teenager. I've always had two jobs, working my way through college, even in college. And I'm a workaholic, quite frankly. Outside of here, I mean, obviously I put in 40 plus here because I love what I do, and that's just how I'm wired. I've always had a second gig. I've always had something on the side. I've always done that, 80-hour work week, not necessarily physically 80, but 60, maybe 65 hours. That's just what I'm accustomed to. I'm kind of like the Energizer rabbit. Don't get me wrong. At the end of the night, I crash.
Yeah,
I'm just wired that way. I'm constantly going, and
so you don't have a work-life balance. You have a work.
Well, no, I think
where's the life? Where's the life come in?
Well, when I get my kids every other weekend or in the evening a little bit if I wind down.
Yeah.
But I'm used to being on the go constantly.
Now when you're saying is that just like watch TV, drinking a glass of wine, maybe going outside? What is it?
Maybe like social activities, going to a ball game or going to a concert, things like that, or spending time with the kids. I get the kids every other weekend, so we do a lot when we go golfing or things like that.
Yeah,
the downtime. But during the week, I'm really focused on the job and or the job or what have you.
Yeah, hyper focused.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Kayla, how about you? What does work-life balance mean to you as Gen Z?
So I really prioritize work-life balance just because, this is my first big girl job, if you will. So I came from my local froyo shop. I worked there for like 5 years and I was part-time. And so I had a lot of work-life balance when I worked there, right? And so coming into this, my first full-time job ever, working 40 hours a week, it was a tough adjustment, but it's been a lot easier than I thought. And so I'm really adamant on keeping that work-life balance with this 40-hour-a-week job. So it's important to me. When I get home from work, I make sure that I do things that are good for myself, right?
Yeah.
I like to work out. I like to spend time with my family.
Yeah.
I like to constantly be contributing my efforts to things that are going to be good for my life, aside from work. So.
Well, and I think all that stuff, whether it's working out, spending time with your family, or doing just something that you enjoy, I mean, that makes you mentally...
keeps you sane.
Yeah, it keeps you sane. And then you're going to be happy when you come to work the next day,
Yes, absolutely.
Sarah, do you want to touch on that work-life balance a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to my elder millennial status here.
The Gandalf of millennials. Thou shall not pass.
But I get it. I work two jobs always. I mean, even when we have things going on here and I take PTO, I don't shut it off. But that's my own choice. Mm-hmm. But I think you guys coming into the workforce, you young folks,
youngsters,
you really brought the importance of that. COVID taught us the importance of that, of having that work-life balance and getting away from the crazy commutes. We just did it, when I was starting out.
But look I'm in Florida 3 weeks ago. I have my laptop. I'm checking email.
Right.
That's just how I'm wired. And I knew what was going on here the whole time I was down south. I mean, that's just how I'm wired.
Yeah, that's the same thing here.
Yeah.
Well, and what I will say, because I definitely can understand the differences between like a Gen X and baby boomer versus a millennial or a Gen Z. I would say in our collective defense here, we grew up having, with all this social media stuff like we talked about, you could be sitting at home and you've got pictures of all these like beautiful places and all these cool things that 30 years ago without social media, you might not know what Bali looks like, or you might not know what some of these incredible things are.
Unless you go there.
And I think our generation, since we have that kind of stuff flashed in our face nonstop, we really have a significant motivation or drive to actually go experience those things.
And ideals.
Right. And I think with millennials and Gen Z, you tend to see them valuing experiences and things like that over material things. My dad was growing up, you want to make sure you had a house and a car and this and a boat or whatever. And then you talk to people that are our age and their goals are like, well, I want to go to Egypt and I want to do this and I want to do that, and it's not necessarily a tangible thing. It's more of an experience
less
thing.
I want to have and more I want to do.
There you go. That's a great point. Exactly. So future of the workplace, where do you guys see this going? This is going to be our third kind of our final point here that we want to discuss. Future of the workplace, what do companies have to do to not only attract young talent to their organizations, but also retain their existing veterans that are there?
Well, I think they need to do something different maybe than what their competitors doing. And what that is, I can't, it depends on the industry.
Right.
You need to stand out from your competitor. And that's a very generic thing. But I think whether it's a work-life balance, whether it's however they structure the PTO time, I'm using those just as an example. But I think you need to stand out from your competitors.
Yeah.
What are they not doing that you should be doing?
Right.
And then focus on that. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, really.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I also think that, obviously, the benefits and, whatnot, those are very important, but I also think what makes Malace so special and what attracted me to Malace in the first place is the culture.
Yeah.
Top workplaces 2021. Why is that? Because we have a great culture and, we do a lot of team building and, we have a wonderful environment where I feel like it's all like family here.
Yeah.
And so I think that family dynamic and that culture is going to be what bridges the gap between like younger generations and like older generations.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I totally agree with you. Do you have anything that you want to touch on that?
Yeah, to talk about what she said with the outings, we had an outing the other day where we did whirly ball, which I'd never done it. And I was like, whatever, I'll try it. And we were all out there. It was the younger folks. It was, all the older folks. Everybody's out there because we're all super competitive and playing against each other and high-fiving and those things. I think if there's any gap between being able to work together, whether it's because of communication or, what we want out of things, like being able to get on the same page with competition and with, just sharing a drink or sharing a lunch with somebody that you wouldn't necessarily think like you two, for example, like
I love talking to Mike.
Yeah.
He's
Because
like
I
the
don't
greatest.
shut up.
Oh yeah.
But as companies, you have to allow for those kinds of relationships to blossom.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the same generation to get along. You don't have to be the same.
There's always a common ground to find.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And as long as I think that's probably the answer that we're looking for is being able to find the common ground for everybody, no matter what their generation, sex, creed.
We're all human. That is our common ground.
Treating people like humans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think like you said, if you build those relationships, companies can use the older veterans that are already existing in their organization, use them as mentors and help the lower or the younger people grow and develop themselves as well. So I think it's kind of an all-in approach, whether it's culture, whether it's the benefits, whether it's doing something different, like a podcast. I don't know. Don't want to say we're following our own book here, but
we are doing something different than any of our competitors.
Well, exactly, and that sometimes that's what it takes in today's day and age.
Absolutely.
So, do we have anything else that anyone wanted to touch on before we wrap this up?
I'm good.
No. Go Malace.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think that's about it for us, guys. So we really appreciate you listening. This has been the Malace Cast. Thank you to Mike and
guys.
Caitlin
you.
for joining us today. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel, and make sure to also like our pages on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. This has been the Malace Cast. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Malace Cast, the official podcast of Malace HR. Don't forget to subscribe now to Malace TV, available on YouTube, and we'll see you on our next Malace Cast.
But I thought you guys all did really, really well. So, you know,
God, it
good
was
job.
so fun.
You know what we
Time
should
of my
do?
life.
We should go out there and we should ask the people who work here, like the younger folks, if they actually know what the dial-up noise is, and then we can.
That would be the funniest video ever.
Yeah.
That would be
We should
awesome.
definitely do that.
Okay, we're gonna do that now.
Absolutely.
Can you tell me who this is?
No.
Is that Atticus Finch?
No.
Nope.
This is about 10 years old. The guy.
Frank Sinatra. That's a cell phone with a microphone around it.
The thing in Andrew's office. It's for recording stuff.
Pretty close.
Magnifying glass. Magnifying.
No idea what that is.
That's one of those glow lights for broadcasting on a face, not a face cloud. You know, when
You're getting there.
the lighting system that you use when you do a broadcast.
Looks like a fire alarm.
Like a air heat. I don't know. It looks like where you change the heat or something. What the heck?
Yeah, that's like a voicemail machine, right?
Oh, that looks familiar. Answering machine?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't know.
Basketball player?
Nope.
Can you tell me who this is?
Yeah, I was gonna say this.
Somebody like Drake.
It's exactly.
That's exactly who it is.
Drake?
Yes.
I know what they are, but I can't think of it.
Like a SIM card? I don't
That's a floppy disk. All right, my dad got those at the creative floppy disk.
Spinners, fidget spinners.
Widgets. Fidgets.
Those widgets that you spin.
Fidget spinners.
It's a radio. No. It's something for the speakers.
VCR. VHR.
Those are books.
They're not books.
VHS tapes.
Not those either.
Okay.
You want to guess?
8-track?
Yes.
Smoothie?
No.
Pomegranate? Looks like a bunch of mixed, some kind of smoothies.
No.
Smoothie.
No.
Glasses of beverages.
Well, technically.
What?
Boba tea.
Is that bougie?
Yes.
I don't do bougie.